Previously on Onboard Lifestyle, the captain buttons up the electrical phase of our mast refit, and the basic crew checks in from over 1,500 miles away to give a quick update. With the upgraded coaxial cable and radar data and power supply, it's time to shift gears. So, let's continue our story and join the captain as he now redirects his focus on Basic's aging mast step.
Depths of silence where echoes remain. You were the sunrise and I was the rain. A collision of souls opposing in flight. I was the darkness, you yearned for the light.
So with all the wires done on the mast, now I'm concentrating on how do I get those wires from the mast through the deck and into Basic. The old wire chase was, well, it really didn't work too well. I'm kind of going through this, trying to re-engineer it and find a better way to get those wires through the deck. And I think I got a good solution. Okay, let's first take a look at our mast step. Here is where the mast base is bolted down. The mast sits on that. There's this huge step that ties back into this bulkhead here that bears the weight of the mast. What I've done is sketch all of this out to see the problem. And well, let's take a look at that. Okay, here's the mast base with the mast going up, and here's the two conduits. Here's the deck, and here's that support post that bears the weight of the mast. This is not just the post itself. There's also sheathing on either side that create all this energy and tie it back into the bulkhead, which is back over here. The problem is, here's our conduit. As the wires came down the conduit, they had to snake their way over to this deck fitting here. And same with this one here. Now this right here had failed. Well, this explains why we had a little bit of water coming through the mast. Look at all this debris over the years. This is 20 years probably since this mast has been pulled. And what it was doing is the weep hole, there's weep holes here, had filled up with mud and debris and dust, and the water would just come up and leak in here. Okay, we'll get this all cleaned out and start fresh. Hopefully it'll be a couple years before this happens again. So now the water would fill up and spill in and come in to this compartment. Okay, I started cleaning this out, and look at this. Couple coins under the mast. Wow. I like that somebody followed tradition. That's what brought us all that good luck over the years. We'll clean these up and see what year they are. Interesting. I want to abandon this. This angle to me was just too awkward to pull wires through, and it was way undersized. Not enough diameter to get all the wires through. So what we're going to do is abandon this, fill this in, fill all this in, and then remount one centered on the mast here. And it's going to come up a little bit higher, a little bit bigger. So now as the wires come down, they're actually going to S like this. So as water comes down, if water does get in, it'll naturally shed off at the low point here. And if some does accidentally get in, not a big deal, because it'll hit this and travel down. All the electrical travels this way and out of its way. Okay, a quick follow-up. I cleaned up these coins and they're in bad shape, real bad shape. The faces that were facing up are unrecognizable. I mean, you could tell they're coins, but the backs have, I'd say, 10% left. And after cleaning them and inspecting them, I could see that they're US dollars, the Sacagawea dollar, and if I look real close, it looks like the year 2000. So these were under the mast 24 years, probably 25 maybe. But makes a nice little souvenir. So let's take a look at this. Okay, here, about right in this location is where that wire harness comes through, and it snakes through this way. We're going to relocate it here, so it misses this post altogether. This post goes all the way down, and actually you can see it coming right through here. I put this inspection port in here just in case water does ever get in there. I can see it, or you know, sop it out with a sponge, or monitor if any water does come through. And the old passage was definitely leaking, so that's why I keep that off. I've been inspecting it regularly and just kind of cleaning it up, but I want to fix that leak. When we put the new one in, it's going to be back here away from that post. It'll be a straight shot, straight up, and I think the wire harnesses will have a much easier passage through the deck. So the first thing I want to do is get this out of there. I'll fill in the deck. I will fill in this passage that goes through that support post. I'll actually put some structural glass cloth in here, and we'll pack this, make sure that this is nice and strong. And then the other thing is we'll have to drill this one and glass this new tube in. There's also another deck fitting right close to the mast. It was a temporary VHF connection that was for our AIS. I want to fix that at the same time because our new AIS cable actually comes down through the mast now. Okay, this is going to be a tight squeeze working in here. Okay, look at this. This is where the wire harness came through. Look at that small little hole. It's probably only an inch in diameter, way too small. Look at, there's where the little bit of drips are coming through. Here's that VHF fitting that we need to omit. And the new hole is actually going to come through right in here. I don't know what that little hole is there. We'll have to fill that. Well, actually, that's going to go away with the new conduit coming through. So I've got a lot to do over the next few days, and I'll be working around weather. It's still, rain squalls have been coming and going. You know, sometimes once, twice a day. Occasionally I'll get a break, but for the most part, I'm going to be battling rain on this project, and I'm exposed. There's no mast to hang any, you know, shades up, so I'll have to just do what I can to stay dry and out of the sun and just kind of get this done. Well, I'm going to have to, because I have now, let's see, what day is it? I have 8 days until the mast goes back on, and all this needs to be engineered and finished. So I got a lot to do, and hopefully the weather cooperates. I've got other things to do to prepare for this, but this is my next high priority, so I got to get going. Well, here's where I'm going to be working for the next few days. I put this temporary cover over the base, and here's that VHF. I put a temporary cover over that as well. It kept the water out while we were sitting here, but it's time to remove all this and see what it looks like underneath. I just used a little mason jar with a bead of butyl tape. Looks like it kind of worked. Oh, it did. There's a little bit of water on the outer perimeter, but the inside is dry. So that did work. Good. We'll clean all this up and get this fitting out. This is totally corroded on. There's no way to unscrew this, so I'm just going to drill this out. I want to clear up fresh core anyway. So by drilling this oversized, I'll get a nice, new, clean connection to the deck. Here's where it went through. We need to go through. Well, look at, somebody had put a mark right there. That's about where we need to go through. That's really close to where we need to go through. I bet you I'm going to be real close to that. Looks like somebody had a hole here at one point, and they used this one. I don't know why they used this one, but they just siliconed it in. You could see the gap around the tube here, and that's where it was leaking. First thing I'm doing is just cleaning up these 2 through holes, or through deck fittings. These I'm going to attack today. You know, right now it doesn't show any rain on the radar, but things change fast here. Let's see if I could get a little bit of this out before I drill. I'm gonna end up drilling on the outside of this anyway, but I'm scared I might not have enough clearance, so I want to get maybe this fitting off. Oh boy, that whole thing turns. Yep, this is not looking good. There's nothing to grab this with, nothing below. It's just two smooth surfaces. I could drill a hole. Nah, I'll just drill the whole thing out. Okay, let's see if this tube comes out. It's not slipping out. I might have to just grind this one out too. That's perfect. Nothing's going smooth yet. But what did I expect? You know, it's gonna feel good. This is an 1.5 inch hole going through that compression post. I don't like having a hole in a compression post, but it has been here 31 years. So it couldn't have done too much damage. Boy, that goes way down there. Way down there. Okay, I'm gonna have to just keep chiseling away at this. Doesn't feel like silicone, feels more like 5200 here. Yep. See if we can get this out. Well, the good news is, tube's out, 5200's out, and look at this, it's sitting on a mahogany block. And it is 100% solid. You know, our boat is made of synthetic, but they did use some wood in compression areas. And here's one of those. But that looks great. So, just a matter of cleaning out the rest of the glue down here before I fill this. Okay, getting this all cleaned up. Everything looks good. I thought this was another hole, but it's just a little patch of silicone. And I figured out what it is. That's where they had a coin. They had a coin under the mast, silicone down. I bet you that's exactly where it was. We'll clean off that silicone as well. I want a nice, clean surface here. We'll sand this out before we get glassing, but let's get as much as we can off first. Feeling real good about this now. I'm going to direct my attention over here for a minute. Now that I know that this is a clean hole, it's going to be relatively easy to fill. But I want to fill this at the same time. And still holding good on the weather. I've grabbed a couple hole saws here. Ooh, that one looks pretty good. Yeah, I think this is it right here. So I'm just going to drill this out, but look at this clearance. See that fitting? The bit is actually going to hit that before I get through the deck. So I'm going to have to cut this off down here, get a little more clearance on there. See if I got through it enough to snap it off. Yes. Okay, that gives me plenty of clearance. Well, I've removed the center bit here. I don't need that, because I can use that base as my guide. Hopefully, the deck is thinner than this, because this will be a tough one to do from the inside. I think it should be. I'm assuming this isn't Nidicore right here. This is probably a big compression area for the mast sitting on top of that post. So I'm assuming this is all 3/4, at least 3/4, maybe 1 inch marine grade ply. I guess we'll see when we dive into this. Okay, there it is. Fitting is out. And let's take a look at this core. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Glass overlay on marine ply. Everything looks and feels great. No sponginess, no moisture. That's about the same hole I'm going to be drilling up here. Okay, I'm going to clean up around the perimeter of this hole. If it starts to rain, I'm going to have to get something down here quick. And it's a little gummy still. I don't think a piece of tape will stick to it. So I'll clean that up. This is fine. I could put my cap over this. But I want to have some reference marks on here regardless, because I'm going to overlay some cloth in here as well. And that gives me a mark to grind back to. It's a little irregular. I think I mushed it there. Let's bring this out like this. Not that it really matters. There. I just want to put a reference mark down here. This way I could trace this onto my cloth and I know the diameter. But mostly because I'm going to be cleaning this surface right now, and it's going to mar the paint pretty bad. I'm using acetone. I just don't want to splash it too far around this. This gives me a point to clean to. I want to get the rest of that butyl off there. I will be grinding this back to this mark. This is just in case the rain hits me unexpectedly. Well, expectedly, just, well, you get what I'm saying. Looks like weather's still holding off. It's in my favor. And things are running smoother than anticipated. So I think I'll have a quick bite to eat, then get back to work.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Onboard Lifestyle. A huge thanks goes out to our generous patrons, whose support makes these videos possible. Join our crew if you can. Sometimes shifting gears is just what's needed to increase our project speed. Especially now, since the crane to install the mast has a hard scheduled date. With the countdown clicking away, come back next week to see what we get done. See you then!